listening to the Hometown Losers, the St. Louis Sports Podcast, with Josh, Adam, and OJ.
Hey, everybody, welcome back here to the Hometown Losers Podcast. This is session number 38. As we get closer and closer to our one-year anniversary, I am joined, as always, by my co-host and Adam and OJ. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Glad to be back. How's it going for OJ?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, it's the weather's been kind of crazy lately. We went from decent weather to balls cold real quick. And it's going to be getting better. But, you know, what they say about St. Louis, you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes, right? So it's kind of feeling like it's getting to be that time where we have no fall, we have no spring. We either have summer or we have winter. This is what it feels like, right?
Sometimes in the same day.
Yeah. Amen to that. Well, for our listeners, we are our next session, which we plan on doing next week, will be our 1-year anniversary. We actually last session got broadcast at 11:09, and so we're recording right now at 11:02. So it's kind of cool though. You know, we'll be hitting close to 40 sessions, but also, I mean, just the year we've been doing this. So maybe I'll try to think of something cool for us to do.
Yeah, you can take me out to a nice steak dinner, so pay for that. I mean, you don't have to be there, just pay for it. You don't have to be there, just pay for it, dude. That's all I give.
You're my boss. Why the hell am I paying? Paying for it? Screw that.
Oh, damn.
Yep. For anybody who doesn't know, Adam's actually my boss, like in real life.
And by the way, you're fired.
That's cool. I was looking to quit anyways. Something about my boss being a dick, but anyways.
Perfect.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and jump into a lot of the sports stuff that's been going down here. Obviously, we'll talk about the baseball season now that it's over, and obviously the MLS season that the playoffs have started kicking off. Let's go ahead and actually jump into MLS here. St. Louis City they haven't looked great in the last few games, right? Obviously, I think they've lost 3 in a row. Correct, guys?
I believe that's correct.
Including the
and they had a few
loss,
yeah, and then of course they've had a few ties as well. Prior to that, I believe they had a couple, if I remember right. So they haven't been like necessarily great. I mean, they've been obviously looking at the season, they've been outstanding. You know, they've won the 17 wins, more than any other expansion team in like league's history. You know, we had like 62 goals, you know, more than every other like team out there in the league. So obviously we had the home field advantage, all that stuff. So it's like, hey, this is a great opportunity, but game 1 did not pan out that well. And we were a little bit nervous facing KC going into it as well. At least Josh, I know you mentioned and especially as of late, KC has been certainly showing up as of late for sure. They've actually been, I think, the best record, you know, overall. You know, for they've won like 4 straight or something like that.
Yeah, so like looking back here, I'm just gonna kind of go through games. They beat Minnesota 1-0. They lose to Nashville 3-0. They beat Houston 2-1. They lose to us 4-1. They beat Real Salt Lake 3-2. They beat Minnesota 3-1 at the season's end. Then they win in penalties to beat San Jose in that wild card spot. It would have been nice if San Jose could have won that one.
Yeah.
And obviously beating us in game 1 4-1. Let's talk a little bit about that game, guys. Obviously, it wasn't the greatest of weather. Adam and I were at the game.
You don't have to tell me. It was
wind
garbage.
Chills sub-frozen wind chills, and it was raining. You know, I'm not gonna lie, we didn't look good, period. But I have to say this, and Adam, you know where I'm going with this. Ted Uncle, the ref for that game, was atrocious. It was the worst officiating I've ever seen in a professional game in my entire life. It was so bad.
To the point where we're like, okay, this was getting so bad, and he was calling pulling. I was going to say, first and foremost, how many yellows did we wind up with that game? I think like 5 or something. It was stupid. It was ridiculous.
That.
It wasn't higher than that. I don't know. I mean, it was like you blink and we're getting yellow carded for everything, and of course they're not getting shit. And he was calling all kinds of crap on us. I mean, it's just ridiculous. The guy was literally the worst ref I've ever seen. Any kind of official I've ever seen in any sport. So
three times we had the advantage. So for anybody who does not know what the advantage is in soccer is, it's when you are going on the attack in the offense in offense, right? And you get fouled. And but you still maintain the ball, like you're still in attacking motion, driving to the net. They play what's called the advantage. So if the play ends up being dead, to where they get the ball, then the defending team gets the ball afterwards. They will send it back to that spot. But if it's been and it's kind of the ref's discretion, but if it's been like 30 seconds, they say after the play, then the advantage goes away. It's still a foul, and if it was deemed a yellow card after the next stoppage of play, the ref will give a yellow card, whatever have you. Well, 3 different times we had the advantage. So we're in the attacking position, and he stops the play. The play to bring it back to not just bring back the play, but to talk to somebody. We saw that down the sideline where he literally stopped our offensive attack to go talk to the guy that created the foul, the KC guy that created the foul. He went to go talk to him. He didn't even didn't give him a card. He just talked to him. I'm like, but you're playing the advantage. Then why are you I'm like, seriously? It was just the weirdest thing. It was the stupidest thing I've ever seen. And we had a great view for a lot of this stuff where it would be clearly out on KC, and he's calling it for KC. Or several times where a player is literally their momentum is taking them to the play, and a KC guy just falls down, or brings one of our players down with him, and we get called for a foul. It's just it was stupid. And I also, by the way, after the game, looked up Ted Uncle's scoring. His scoring is 3.2, which is the worst. It's the worst scoring that MLS refs have to offer, and it's on a scale from 1 to 10. So you're telling me that the score goes into correct calls, how many yellows, how many reds he gives, all that stuff, right? So you're telling me though this guy's 32% essentially in job performance. How the hell does he even have a job? Is beyond me.
Well, and he has a hard on against St. Louis as well. Looking at on WhoScored.com, I'm noticing on foul percentages, St. Louis, he scored, 8. I was going to say is second. Yellow cards as well were second. Yellow percentage overall were first. I mean, he just absolutely hates St. Louis.
Well, and it's also kind of funny too that the last game coming into the season, hold on, I'm trying to actually remember because I just had it pulled up. It was a KC game that he reffed, and I think it was the game against Minnesota, a 3-1 decision. He reffed that game, and a lot of people in Minnesota felt that he was kind of discriminatory against them, and that's kind of how I felt, at least in the City game. I mean, obviously we left early. It was cold and rainy, so it was just not enjoyable.
But it was
garbage
though.
But it was so bad. And it was, it was just terrible. I mean, that's why I was just I'm done with this guy. He literally stopped the play. There was right before we left, he called 4 fouls on us consecutively over on the sideline. It's for why? I'm like, so you're allowed.
There
to
were 17
ball,
fouls.
Right?
There were 17 fouls he called on us that game. I just looked it up. Yeah. So and 5 yellow cards. So there you go.
Yeah,
it was crap.
That was pretty fucking bad.
Yeah, dude, it was terrible. So, of course, we wind up with some terrible officiating. I mean, it didn't help that we also weren't playing our greatest either.
Yeah,
but
I do want to. I have to put that press. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I had to put that out there. This isn't just on the officiating. I am more upset about the officiating than how we played, even though we played like garbage, because it didn't give us a chance. We don't lose this game we still, I firmly, even if it was an even game, I firmly believe we lose this game, but it's like a 2-1, not a 4-1. I mean, fuck, he let a handball go in. I mean, the dude.
Yeah,
like,
there was a
dude
handball,
elevates up.
and they reviewed it, and they still ruled it
Because
yeah,
it was a goal called on the field. And I'm just like, okay,
not
so
enough
let's
to
be honest here.
return.
He's saying to hit, and he kept motion. He's saying he hit his shoulder. I'm like, but he stuck his arm out in an unnatural position to hit the ball, and it clearly hits his bicep. I'm like, are we serious right now? Like,
It was
a handball.
Pretty unquestionably terrible fucking ref. So, but I've kind of noticed that for a lot. I'd be curious to see where all these refs are, because it's the handball thing is really gotten out of hand. Like,
no pun intended.
Ironically,
it's insane how anytime there is a handball, the call never goes in our favor. It always isn't a handball if the other team plays it with their hand. It's always a handball if it hits one of our guys' hand, even if it's tucked in tight to his fucking body. And they'll throw just like on top of it. And they'll throw yellow on top of it just for good measure.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous.
Just like earlier in the season, when we have a defender who is falling to the ground, he puts his hand down to brace himself, and the ball is shot. It's a missed shot by the offensive player, and it hits that arm that is going to the ground so this guy can brace himself. And by the way, the defender is away from the ball, and they call it a handball. I'm like, are you fucking serious? Like, he's got to be able to protect himself. I mean, it's just like, so do we just literally need to, like, and this is going to sound very drastic, but do we just need to get a bunch of, amputees and have them be defensive players? Like, that's kind of how it feels like. You know what I mean? To your point, OJ, everything goes against us.
Yeah. I honestly would be surprised if there was actual bias. I mean, we could look it up probably, right? There's something weird going on with
just percentages.
Well, there definitely is, because I mean, he's literally being compared to being the Angel Hernandez of soccer, and so
this guy's just trash.
There's petitions out there, OJ, literal petitions with thousands of that have been going on for a long time. This is not as of the game on Sunday. This is like a lot of people on Reddit and everywhere else talk about how terrible that Ted Unkel is at officiating. And anyway,
to your point, Adam, there's
a decision about handballs they're talking about from 4 years ago that talk about how he can't. That's like kind of ironic.
So
but anyway,
to your point, Adam, there are 8 Reddit forums, 8 of them, that are specifically about one MLS ref named Ted Unkel. That's fucked up. Let's be honest, like, there's like 8 collective, forums that talk about MLS in general because it's MLS. And, it's just, and I looked at the video because, like, one of the first things you pop up is Ted Unkel runs into an offensive player. And I showed you the video, Adam.
Yeah.
Where he is running, and a guy's going across the midfield with the ball. They're going in attacking. He's trying to pass to the forward from his from the right side of the field, and he's passing to his left. Ted Unkel literally runs right into the play like he is the guy supposed to get the ball, and runs right into the offensive guy. Then what turns up is the defender that was now marking gets a free ball, passes it up, and they score. He then reviews it and calls the goal a disallowed goal because he got in the way.
Yeah, I think that was that one against with I think that was the one with Luciano Acosta as well. I think that was the one.
Yes, it was, because he ran into Acosta.
Yeah.
But it's like you fucked up in like 4 different things. And so, like, it was, and the other thing too is, like, he goes into a review process, and it took them 10 minutes to sort this out. And then he eventually goes, nope, I ran into it, and it was an unfair play. I'm like, then why don't you whistle the ball dead? That's what happens. Like, we've seen that before. A good officiating, if they interact in the play, it's a dead ball, and whoever had possession leading to the play or currently on the play in a clear possession, it just stops there. At that point, the ref will drop the ball, but it's always obviously a little bit of a fair play that the team possessing it will have it. We've seen that all the time, but he doesn't stop the play at all. Lets the play continue. A goal is then scored, and he calls it back. It's just the stupidest thing I think I've ever seen. But this guy is so bad, and it's just like, now it's weird that you have to look at this and you go, man, like, I really don't want to face KC. Oh God, we have Ted Unkel as our fucking the ref. Well, this is a loss. You know what I mean? As you said, Adam, it feels like Angel Hernandez or Hernandez.
Hernandez,
you know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, it's the same crap. I mean, he was another one that we just, on the baseball side of things, was just a piece of crap. He
still is.
He is, yeah.
But dude,
So.
yeah, something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is, by the way, MLS. MLS won't announce the refs until I think the day before the game to protect the refs. Because I'm looking at it right now. They don't
If
have
he
a
shows up in
referee.
St. Louis, bro,
Yeah.
well, obviously, I'm just saying for Game 3, like St. Louis will riot. Like if he,
Well, if he's reffing Game 2, we got a problem, because then that means he has repped 3 Kansas City games in a row. No, that cannot be. You know
that's
what I mean? 'Cause
bullshit. Yeah, I'm sorry,
like,
but that would be complete another crap.
agreed.
Shooter McGavin him. Do what Shooter would do.
Yeah, pretty much, dude.
On
But
his way
also
out,
too, like,
just oops. Guess we need a new
But
rep.
yeah, you'd be like, what is it? From The Longest Yard with Adam Sandler, he just takes him and hits him in the balls twice and be like, "You gonna call fair game?" Maybe that's what we did too. Just take him out at the knees and be like, "You gonna call fair game?" What, Willie?
There you go.
Christ. But also too, I gotta say this, and I don't obviously have the names of the line officials and stuff like that, but shame on them. There were several times that they saw the play right in front of them, and they have the ability to overrule the ref if they have the view, but they just stood there with their fucking
Yeah,
flag.
they didn't say it. Yeah, they didn't say shit. Yeah, that was disappointing.
Man, see something like. I'm
Dude,
like, whatever.
Fix is in. The fix
Yep.
in.
Well, we better show up and things better turn around for Game 2.
Yeah, they better crush them. I will say, though, from what I see here, this is according to footystats.org. The last game that we played, the expected goals were only 2.14 to Kansas City and 1.44 to us. So,
yes,
you
again, we didn't play well. We were terrible through the middle. And so I went back and watched a lot. And Adam, during the game, I'm just like, why can't we do that? Like, we were like picking and prodding, and we weren't able to move the ball forward at all.
Not
and,
at
we
all.
just didn't have
that
a build
was
up.
so disappointing.
And they would grab the ball and they attacked, and all of a sudden it's just like, well, here's a fucking chance. Like, why are they running with the ball? And we're like standing there waiting. A lot of our forwards, when our midfielders got the ball, they were standing there right next to the marks, not making runs, not coming to the ball, not trying to create space. They're just waiting for the ball to get past them. And I'm like, dude, you have to get around. And then when you did see run, and specifically, Klaus had a good game in the fact that he tried to create space and opportunities several times. He called for the ball and would go forward to try to run. And there were several times that the midfielder saw him and looked him off and passed it somewhere else. Or a couple times they did pass it in. Obviously, nothing came from it. But that's what we need to say. What did I say, Adam? Stretch the back line. Because if not, they're just going to stand there because they don't have to move. You're not putting pressure on them. And even if it doesn't work, make them run, make them turn. I mean, it's like fucking soccer 101 when you're playing on the offensive side of the ball. And I didn't play soccer all that long. But if you make the defenders turn, and it's just like in football. If we constantly keep throwing long balls down the field, what do you think the safeties are going to do? They're going to start playing deeper. They're starting to play back. That's when you're able to have success running the ball. And it's vice versa. If we keep handing the ball off and keep, getting success. OJ, just like in high school, when we didn't have a quarterback and we only had, Green running the ball every freaking time, they would end up stacking 10 people in the box. Really hard to run the ball then, but we can't throw it either. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it freaking feels like. And how they literally just stood there and we just couldn't create any opportunities. But our midfielders have to be better. They were giving up so much space. They were not marking. They were not hustling to the ball. They weren't trying to win 50-50s. It almost felt like they were forwards and not helping back on the defensive side of things, if that makes sense.
Yes, it makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, it just, we will lose if we play like that again, but we got to get back to we actually came out, I thought, pretty strong in the game, even though obviously we conceded the first goal. I loved our response and our answer, but the first 10 minutes of the game, I really felt like we came out, we were tenacious, we were aggressive, but that first goal deflated the hell out of us. And specifically the second goal, which was the handball, just completely
really was a distraction because everybody was just pissed as hell because obviously it went, for review. We didn't get it, in our favor, and everyone was just completely, just like you said, deflated at that point, and it just felt like it just really affected the team, unfortunately, and it just wasn't the same sense. We just couldn't ever get anything going. So very disappointing.
Yeah.
I mean, if we play our game, we will beat, we'll beat Kansas City. I mean, you got to take a look at, recent history. Obviously, in the past 4 games, or actually really the only 4 times we've ever played them in franchise history, we are 2-2 against them. And a lot of goals have been scored one way or the other. 4-0, 4-1, 1-4, 2-1, right?
And
they had a lot of with one of those wins against us. I will say the one in Kansas City. There was also a non-handball call in that game.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, they had a lot of help from the refs in their time against us. So,
right.
That 2-2 isn't exactly even. Let's put it that way.
And I got to say this for myself. Obviously I have bias. Like, I can't get rid of that. Like, it's like when I'm watching the Chiefs game or I'm watching, the Blues. Like, I have some sort of bias. But Adam, you and I watch a lot of sports together, or we attend a lot of sports together. I'm pretty freaking fair of calling it and penalties.
Yeah, there have been times where I'm like, and a lot of the fans were like, clearly looking at it from a biased perspective. And you're like, no, that was
the Battlehawks. I do it a lot where I'm just like, nope, that definitely was a penalty. And everyone is just like, boo, that's a bullshit call. I'm like, it was a penalty. And then you watch the replay,
be a clean hit or whatever. We'll be watching hockey or whatever. Be like, that was a clean hit or whatever. And people are calling bullshit. So, but
yeah. And so, like, I always have the bias because obviously I want one team to win. That's the reason why I watch the games or attend the games as well. But
of course, you're going to cheer on your team.
But that's why I've never left a game because of a ref. And I'm telling you, I left that game because of the ref. It was so bad. Like, it was worse than the weather. I'm hoping that we have a better ref, but we have got to come ready to play. You know what I mean? That's the end all be all here is if St. Louis City does not show up and they don't present themselves like they have been all season long, then we're done. If they don't recognize, if they don't step up and take the initiative and play in the playoffs and stuff, like the intensity of the playoffs, then we're toast. And a lot of people are saying, oh, it's because they're a new team, blah, blah, blah. I think it's because we are a new team that we got to be able to play, and we can play. We won our first home game, in franchise history. Think of how much pressure is on that game. Our first game franchise existence, obviously we were away. We won that one, and that was a comeback game too. Remember, if you guys remember, the first half of that game, we did not look very good in, and we continued to come back and answer. And then obviously our second game at home, you have high emotions, but what ends up happening in high emotion games like that is typically, especially in soccer, you come out very strong for the first 10 minutes. Then after that, it gets to be you're drained because you're so hyped up. We look what the St. Louis Blues did in Game 6 in the 2019 playoffs. You know what I mean? Everybody's like, oh my God, we're going to win the cup. We're going to win at home. It's going to be a magical moment. They can do it. They had all this momentum, and then they just come out and lose 5-1. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Actually, I think it was worse than that, wasn't it? But it don't matter at this point.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, doesn't matter. We won. That's all that fucking matters. Fuck Boston, we won. That's all that matters on that side. But
yeah, my favorite newspaper from that one is when they won. Which one was the one where they like Schwartz like tripped a guy or something? It's like,
that was Shin. It was Shin.
It was Shin that tripped the guy in the offensive zone.
Sure. Or maybe it was definitely not Schwartz.
Shin or something. Now I'm forgetting. No, it was Bozak. Bozak tripped the guy. That's who it was.
Oh, it was Bozak. It was Bozak. Yeah. That's exactly who it was. Yeah.
It shows the picture of tripping the guy. It said, "What a trip!"
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
Yep. I did. There was a Boston one that I saw too that they showed that, and this was after Game 7, but it was tripped at the finish line.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, at least they leaned into it a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On that side,
didn't make Brad Marchand leave the ice early and let Pietrangelo go down and shoot. So
listen, I played a decent amount of hockey in my life, and I've never played at the NHL like that, right? But that is like 101, man. There is like 30 seconds left in this fucking in this period, and you're gonna leave the ice.
You're gonna leave the ice,
when they are attacking. I don't care how tired you are. I can't tell you how many extended shifts I've had when I'm supposed to get off the ice because all of a sudden now we're trapped in the defensive zone. I am not leaving my defenders out there like that. You know what I mean? And you ask for trouble by doing that. So yes, that I firmly believe that Brad Marchand and Jordan Binnington cost Boston that series because Binnington, obviously, for Game 7 was just absolutely ridiculous. But also, too, that second goal should not have happened. And that second goal gave us hope and belief. Not just hope. It gave us belief that, hey, we can do this in Boston. And it really deflated them. You know what I mean? So
up 2-0.
Yeah.
God.
At the end of the first. So
yeah, when Boston had pretty much dominated the run and play at that point.
Yes, they did. Like we got, and you give it. So like, if I was Boston, you got to tip your hat to Ryan O'Reilly. He scored in his 4th consecutive, Stanley Cup final goal. The only other player to do that besides Wayne Gretzky, but it was a tipped goal. So he's like, all right, he got a nice deflection. We were, it's just a mistake. That's fine. But beyond that, they were dominating the play, and Binnington had to stand on his head several times. The one where he saved with his freaking armpit essentially on Brad Marchand. Holy shit, right?
Yeah.
Like that was an iconic save. And almost a franchise defining save if you think of it in the long term. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he kind of had like a Holtby moment.
Yeah, almost, dude. You're 100% right there. It was pretty impressive, obviously, but let's get off that. Because we'll talk about Blues here.
Yeah, I was going to say, we'll get to the Blues.
Yeah, before we get off on tangents again. Let's actually talk a little bit of for the predictions that we have here for Game 2 in Game 3. I'll go ahead and start if you guys want, unless one of you guys want to start.
You're good. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So I definitely still have us winning this series because we are going to win this series. I firmly believe it. I've been saying this. I'm putting up positive energy out there. I believe that City is going to win this. I have us winning Game 2 3-1, and I have us winning Game 3 2-0. I think Game 3 is going to actually be. We're going to score relatively early, like in the 15th minute. And then they're going to put a lot of pressure on us, but we're going to score in like the 85th minute. And it's just going to be like an eruption of emotion at that point in time. So those are my game predictions for the scoring here. Who wants to go next?
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll win the next two also. St. Louis will, I mean, of course, because I don't think Kansas City is actually a very good soccer team. I think they've had some help from the refs.
Sure.
And the last game, just, that everything went their way kind of, and they came out the victorious. So, where they played a series for a reason. So even though it's only 3, you got the next 2 to prove that you're the best. And I think that St. Louis really is far and away the better team. So
I agree with you. Sporting is playing better than what they are because they're on a little bit of a heat, like a hot streak, right? So it makes you look better than what you truly are. And I kind of feel that's what they are right now. You know what I mean? Again, they're coming in, they have a lot of confidence, stuff like that, but they're not a good team. I think that we are a much more talented team as we've proven all season long, right? So,
right. Yeah.
Adam, what you got?
Yeah, I think with our backs against the wall, we'll be performing better. And personally, I think Game 2 is going to wind up being like 2-1 St. Louis. That's my assessment on Game 2. Yeah, my prediction. And I think with Game 3, I think it'll probably be like, I think you said 2-0, and I think it'll probably be the same 2-0 for Game 3. It's going to be it's not going to be an easy rest of the series for sure. They'll be battling back and forth, no doubt. But I think that St. Louis will, at the end of the day, prevail, especially in Game 2, just because, it's do or die right now, obviously. So, but we're still the better team, of the two. We still are the better team, no doubt. But it always makes me nervous a little bit going into this with, being away. We don't necessarily have the greatest record, but I think that we can squeak out a win in Game 2, and I think if we do that, we'll definitely bring it back home and win it for sure.
Yeah, and if I'm a Sporting Kansas City fan, you got to hope the guy doesn't go to Game 3 because that we're going to be rocking, painting the town red, right? And you need to you got to take care of it right here, right now, because you winning 4-1 in City Park again, I don't think that's going to happen. So
yeah, I don't think so either. And also, we're going to have the advantage, or some advantage too, because I mean, I don't know how, what the statistics are with the weather, and obviously, how that goes, because, generally I think most of our games have been pretty good weather, but I think now that, first of all, hopefully we'll have a better officiating, and second of all, better weather as well. So, and I think that that'll help us out in the long run.
Which, speaking of, just in case anybody doesn't know, so after the first round, there's also a 2-week pause.
Yes, the international.
Oh, I'm like, we're gonna be playing soccer in December. Like, this is it might as well, like, the final ends up being when the
freaking
Christmas
Super Bowl
is, right? Like,
damn near.
Just kind of crazy. So like, hopefully it doesn't
crazy.
become a problem, but we'll have to see how it goes.
Breaking out the orange ball. So there you go.
Right. Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and jump in and actually take a look at a little bit of the MLS playoffs here. So I have we won't spend too much time on here, but I have the matchups, and then we'll just do like a prediction what you guys think for the series, right? So we'll just jump into it. So in the Eastern side of things, we'll start. Actually, let's start on the Western side, since we obviously talked about City. We all have them winning this series 2-1. Let's take a look at FC Dallas versus Seattle. Seattle's up 1-0 right now in that series. Seattle won their last game 2-0. I personally have Seattle winning that series 2-1. I think Dallas is going to win this next game. I think it's going to be one of those games where everybody at home wins. Adam, what do you think? What do you think about that series, Dallas and Seattle?
I would say, looking at that matchup there, I think Seattle's probably a little bit better team myself of the two.
Mm-hmm. Do you have them winning it 2-0 then in the series? Do you have them sweeping?
Yeah.
Or do you have them?
I'd have them probably 2-0. Yeah.
Yeah, I was very close to that because Seattle's a really good team, but just Dallas plays pretty well too, But at the same time, we don't know which Dallas team's going to show up every night. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So,
I think looking at the matchup here, overall, comparing the two, Seattle's definitely the better team of the two. And then so. Is it going to be hosted in Seattle? Is that the first game? I'm looking here.
The first game was in Seattle, and the second game will be in Dallas. Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah, because looking over the statistics, I would say Seattle has the upper hand here for sure.
For sure.
And head to head, it looks like Seattle has had a pretty good, record against them as well.
OJ, what do you think about this series? Who you have, Dallas or Seattle?
I think Dallas plays I know Seattle's struggling, and I know Dallas plays a very solid defensive brand of football, and they could probably get a struggling Seattle team to shoot themselves in the foot enough times to take the series.
Okay, that's a good one. It's going to be interesting. And OJ, that's the reason why I gave them one. I believe that Seattle's a better team, but Dallas is good enough that they could win this series. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be one of those real tough series. Let's take a look at another one in the West. Vancouver and LAFC. LA is up 1-0 in that series. They won their game 5-2 over Vancouver. I have a clean sweep 2-0. OJ, what do you have? Vancouver or LAFC?
I go LA.
Yeah.
Vancouver sucks. Sorry.
Yeah, that's why I believe, like, Vancouver, good for them for being able to fight their way into the playoffs and not even a wild card spot, right?
But they're not going to beat LA. Yeah, they're not going to be beating LA.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, not happening.
Yep. Okay, let's take a look here. Next one, Real Salt Lake versus, or should we say Real Salt Lake, since we're in America.
We're America.
Real Salt Lake versus Houston.
Real.
Yeah, Houston is up 1-0 in that series. They won their game against Real 2-1. I also have 3 games. Adam, go ahead and you say your prediction first.
I say 3 games, but Houston's they're gonna end up winning it. But
2-1. I have it the opposite way. Yeah.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah, I think that Real is a good team, so we'll have to see. But OJ, who do you have for the tiebreaker here?
I was actually leaning on Salt Lake too. For the same, I think they improved their roster quite a bit during the transfer window, and I think that they're a pretty dangerous fucking team now. So I think that they can come back and take it.
Yeah, they beat them 2-1, so it was a close game. So
yeah.
Let's see. I think that's all the West, right? Okay, yeah. So in the East, we have Cincinnati versus New York Red Bulls. Cincinnati's up 1-0. They won last game 3-0. I'm going to keep this simple. I'm pretty sure we all believe this is going to be a clean sweep, right? Cincy 2-0.
It should absolutely be, because I mean, come on now.
Unless something goes really wrong.
Right.
Exactly. That's it. Unless somebody gets injured or something happens, or where it's just going to change the series and the complexion.
But obviously, Cincinnati is the game to that. I was going to say Cincinnati is the team to beat for sure.
Agreed. All right. Next one, New England versus Philly. Kind of a rivalry game, especially with fan bases. But Philly's leading that 1-0. They won their game 3-1. I have Philly sweeping 2-0 because I think they're a better team. OJ, what do you think?
Yeah, same. I like Philly.
Me too. Adam?
Yeah, I'd say they're probably, because they were up. They ended up going over New England 3-1 in their first game, and overall, looking at that match, I would say that looks like Philly by far is the favorite.
Yeah. The next one is an interesting one. Another Eastern Conference playoff matchup here. Atlanta versus Columbus. Columbus obviously on a hot streak. They finished very, very strong on the season. They're up right now 1-0 in this series. They beat Columbus 2-0, but Atlanta is a strong, resilient team. I still believe that Columbus wins the series 2-1, but I believe that Atlanta is going to win this next game at home before Columbus shuts the door. Adam, what's your thoughts?
I think Atlanta's going to at least squeeze out one game for sure, because I mean, they're actually, while they have been on a hot streak for sure compared to Atlanta, I think that Atlanta still is a pretty strong team, to your point. And I definitely see them coming back probably in game 2. I expect them to probably pick up at least one game.
Yeah. OJ, what do you thought?
I think they're both pretty good teams, but I seem to remember Atlanta scuffling more towards the end of the season and Columbus being pretty hot, and I think they'll probably carry that through the postseason. So,
well, they ended up tying. Yeah, I was going to say Atlanta just recently. I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to see when that game was, but they actually ended up tying that game versus Cincy, and they went. It was a tie game, but still, so they performed pretty well with them. But we'll see.
And the last one we have here, Nashville versus Orlando City. Orlando City's been playing some really good ball lately. They're up 1-0 against Nashville. They won their game 1-0. I think that Orlando City is actually a dark horse in this playoff here. I think they clean sweep here at 2-0 against Nashville. Adam, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. Overall, Orlando has been performing very well. Looking at their stats, they haven't lost a game since like late September. So they're on a hot streak for sure. I think they'll continue.
Well, I'll just take Nashville because I know that they've probably got the best player between both teams. So
I agree with that. Yeah,
100%. They have an edge there at some point. So I'm going to go with them.
There you go.
Easy enough. We'll see obviously how that plays out. And before we move into the Blues, I did want to talk a little bit about the end of the year nominations for awards here. So here's a really cool thing. I'm actually just reading this. Give me 1 second. I gotta try to find it again. Okay. Atlanta United, FC, Cincinnati, and St. Louis City are the most represented clubs among the end of the year awards for the 2023 season of MLS contenders. With a finalist in 4 award categories each. St. Louis City's 4 end of the award finalists are the most by any expansion team in their inaugural season since Atlanta United had 5 in 2017. However, the finalists for the MVP award of the MLS, you have Acosta for Cincinnati, Thiago Aldama from Atlanta, and you have Bugana for LAFC. I'm not seeing Leuven, and I'm not seeing Berkey, and I'm pissed. Just saying.
Yeah.
But
that's bullshit. I agree. Berkey definitely deserves some recognition.
Yeah.
And Leuven too. Like,
Yeah,
so
Leuven
here's the thing
too,
is
for sure.
Berkey most likely is going to win the goaltender of the year. In fact, let me look up this real quick because I just had it. Where's it at? Berkey. Okay, yeah. So Berkey produced the second most saves in MLS this season with 123, which is incredibly impressive. In Cincinnati's Clementino has been phenomenal too. But, and by the way, too, how funny is that out of the two out of the three top goaltenders that are named for the finals, both have the first name of Roman. Just saying, Roman Clemente and Roman Berkey. But the Clementano, excuse me, has 12 clean sheets. Well, I would hope so when you have a very good defense in front of you, right? So I think that Berkey definitely has to win that award, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And they're also saying, by the way, that so Leuven is up for the newcomer award for the MLS. Obviously, he's going up against Giros. I can't even pronounce his name. Gaio Koumakas for Atlanta United, and then Lionel Messi. Which, if Lionel Messi gets that award, I'm gonna be fucking furious. You know what I mean? He came in, played 6 games, and then you're just gonna shit over. Even if Leuven loses to this other guy, this Giros guy, the guy from Atlanta United, I would be okay with that as long as they don't lose it to Lionel Messi, because Lionel Messi is just a name. You know what I mean? He came in for you're shitting on the body of work that these other two guys did. You guys get what I'm getting at there?
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
Makes sense.
It depends on how you want to define the newcomer award, then I guess, though, too, because
yeah, exactly.
If it's just that, then technically Lionel Messi fits the bill.
For sure, yeah. Who is the newest and had the most, right?
If you're going to have it be like a whole season award, then yeah, you need to take into account the fact that this guy only played 6 games.
Exactly.
He basically played nothing. So yeah, he shouldn't be winning any awards on that.
Yeah. Bradley Carnell, our coach, is up for the finalist as well. Which I'm hoping he wins, but I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, to see Cincinnati's coach wins. But also I gotta point this out real quick. So referees, they actually have referee awards. Referee of the year nominees for MLS. You have John Freeman, who's not bad. Victor Ravas, which is controversial sometimes, but most of the time it gets right. And Ted Unkel is also a finalist.
Jesus Christ.
Literally Ted. So I
did
the research coming into this. Ted Unkel is the worst rated referee in the entire MLS.
How in the hell?
How the hell does he have it up for
Does that even work? I guess that's even rigged too, huh? Okay, got it. All right. Jesus.
And that's how they trick you into thinking he's good.
Messed up.
Yes.
Wow.
I guess they just watch the game. Oh, this guy's got.
Wait, I was gonna say whoever's doing the nominations. I guess he must be favoring their teams. I guess.
Or like if you don't know obsession.
Yeah, I was gonna say if I was Kansas City, I'd be like, oh yeah, Ted Unkel, he's the shit. He's the greatest freaking ref out there. Right. Nominate him. Shit.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, I guess it works if you don't know what you're looking at. Like if you're sitting there watching the game for the first time and you're like, well, hold on a second. I thought he just called that on this one, but then you see, he's got this award, so he must be one of the best in the league. So maybe it's just something I don't know. You know?
and you could like, OJ, that's a great point, because it's like having a really shitty product and then putting a badge on it saying, oh, this is actually like the most sought after product, even though it's not. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like getting like an advertisement space essentially for something of a fake product or something that's really stupid. And
snake oil.
Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much it. You know what I mean? Even that's an interesting TV show, but yeah.
Well, I was thinking more of like the original term.
I know.
Not the TV show that's weird as hell, but yes, like the actual snake oil, like quackery from. Right. Yeah. A scam.
Alrighty. Well, guys, let's go ahead and dive into a little bit of Blues hockey, even though I kind of really don't want to, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I guess we probably should. So give a quick update. The Blues have played 8 games. They're 3-4-1 for 7 total points. We are 7th in the Central, obviously.
Yeah, we're over the fucking Blackhawks. Hell yeah.
Yep, we are 7 points behind Colorado. We are 11th in the West out of 15, 2 points out of the last wild card spot, which is just 1 game, but obviously with only 8 games played and 10% into the season, a little less than. Obviously that's not that bad, but we are 27th in the NHL. We are 12 points behind the lead, which I believe is the Vegas Knights, who are 9-0-1 because, all right, I got to say this, and Adam, I didn't want to actually say this, but you know what I'm going with here.
Where we go.
I'm sorry.
Break out the soapbox.
Let this go, but I got to talk about this. And OJ, I think you and I have talked about this as well. My dream was to play in the NHL. Okay, that was my dream for a long, long time. I'm to the point now that I don't even want to watch NHL games anymore. I really do believe, not the games are fixed, but I believe the NHL in general is fixed. We talked about this already on this podcast about Connor Bedard going to Chicago Blackhawks. And of course, the same year that they're going to lose Jonathan Toews and they're going to lose Patrick Kane, right? And I believe that the NHL saw that and they didn't want to lose a revenue stream. But this is the thing that just happened. So Ottawa trades away Dadevin, their defender. They trade him to the Golden Knights. The Golden Knights then try to turn around and trade him to the Ducks. They obviously, get the deal done, but it doesn't get finalized. And so the Vegas Knights then go to the NHL and pretty much they talk to the NHL and say, hey, there's something that's going on with this. Essentially what ends up happening was Dadevin had a 10-team no trade clause.
You're talking about Dadonov, right?
Dadonov. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. If I mean Dadonov, I don't know. It looks like Dadonov, whatever.
Dadonov, yeah. I think it's pronounced Dadonov though. So
okay, Dadonov. Yeah, we'll go with that. So 100% right.
He's some Russian dude.
He's right. Yeah, exactly. He's a Russian defender for the Stars now.
There you go.
So Ottawa trades him to Vegas Knights, and then the Vegas obviously tries to get him the Ducks, but he had a no trade clause for the Ducks. That was one of the teams on the 10-team no trade clause. The Vegas Knights then go to the NHL and say, well, we didn't know that he had a no trade clause. And so what happens is the NHL handed down a punishment to Ottawa. They're making Ottawa forfeit a first round pick. Vegas, no penalty. I'm sorry, but if I'm assuming somebody's contract, I need to know like everything about that before I'm assuming the contract. Am I just looking at dollars and cents? How is it that it's on the proof or it's on the burden of Ottawa and not the Vegas Knights for not doing their homework? Am I crazy here? Like, oh,
well, yeah, because typically I can just literally go up and literally look up NHL contracts online, literally on SportTrack.
SportTrack and shows everything.
It shows everything about a freaking player. Like, how do they not know this? It just kind of blows my mind. They're like, oh, I didn't know about this. I'm like, how? Like, this should be public knowledge, but okay.
I wonder what proof there is that, because that does seem weird. Like,
how do you not know that? Like,
Ottawa concealed it from them somehow.
So OJ, it's like what I told Adam, right? That's like me going to McDonald's and saying I want a cheeseburger. I take a bite of the cheeseburger and then go back to McDonald's and say I'm suing you because there's pickles on this and I'm allergic to pickles. Okay, well you didn't ask us if there was pickles on it. You didn't ask. I mean, like, look at the picture. It's up there. It's displayed. The proof of it is on you. You just asked for a burger. You didn't say I'm allergic to pickles, which is a common thing for burgers. You know what I mean? It's like the stupidest thing. Like I'm looking at this, and I went into even in more depth to this. It has everything to do with the NHL and Gary Bettman wanting to get into Vegas first, because we knew before the Vegas Knights happened and the expansion draft happened, there was such a hot topic button around Vegas as a sports city. And so we knew that they were eventually going to get the Raiders. We knew they were going to get an NHL team. And obviously there was a lot of pressure to get a baseball team there as well, which it looks like that's going to happen. And also, by the way, I feel for the city of Oakland, who lost a football team and a baseball team to Vegas. Just saying, like, if I was from Oakland, I would go to Atlantic City. Fuck, I'm never going to Vegas again, right? But anyways, to that point, Gary Bettman and NHL wanted to get into Vegas first and foremost so they could establish that fan base, right? So they made this monstrous push, and that's why also I believe that the expansion draft was not fair. We've talked about this before. OJ, I know you and I have talked about this, where it was not fair and that Vegas was set up for success. Where look at Seattle. Seattle is, yes, they made the playoffs. Congratulations to Seattle for that, but they suck compared to the Vegas Knights. You know what I mean?
Well, they had the same rules as Vegas did for the draft. I mean, what I was talking about is like if you compare it to the old time expansion drafts, then like it makes
that's what I was talking about.
Different. But I guess at the end of the day, are you really in like competition in that way? Like I guess not really. So you could argue that it's for the good of the league to try and essentially tilt the odds in the favor of every expansion team.
If you're looking at a business standpoint, yes, but as a fan of the game, it's not like that. Yeah, go on, Adam.
By the way, not to change the subject, but to go back, I'm reading some details on ESPN. Apparently, that with the deal with the Knights and all that, and the Dadonov deal or whatever, apparently there was no mention of the trade protection on the trade call with the Senators and the NHL. But that still, just because they didn't mention it on the call doesn't mean that it's like, well, you clearly can see his contract. You know what I mean? But I guess they're just saying they didn't disclose it during the call.
Sounds like they would that on reality. So,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They're like, oh, yeah, well, they didn't say it to me. It's like, well, you didn't read the contract either, the fine print. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
they didn't And the other thing is, this only happened when they tried to trade him to the Ducks. He was there for a minute.
Yeah, that is true. He was.
They clearly didn't review they didn't review the contract. And then they have buyer's remorse because it didn't go into their plan.
Well, they probably did review it prior to trading him to see if they would have at least have wanted to check for a no trade list or something, right?
Sure.
Right? So they probably did review it. They probably saw that shit. They're probably like, fuck it, let's try it anyway.
See what happens. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I don't see that at all. No one told us about it. Yeah.
Maybe they already realized that they could try and squirm out of any kind of any issues because of the whole call thing. Maybe they already realized they had the technicality in their back pocket, so they're like, fuck it, go for it.
The crappy thing is, though, is that the fact that is that the Senators, they get stripped of a first round pick because they didn't disclose it on a phone call about the detail in the transaction, even though it was still in the contract. But yet, obviously Chicago, they covered up a whole sex scandal and and write a letter, and then obviously like this little meme here, writing a letter of reference for the abuser as well, and all they had to pay was like what, $2 million or whatever. Whoop-de freaking do, and then they wind up with freaking Connor Bedard. So okay.
It's just ridiculous because and again, I believe that also part of this is that the fact that the NHL does not want to franchise in Ottawa for some reason. I mean, they've been shitting on Ottawa. They didn't allow Ryan Reynolds to become an owner. And the reason why they state that it's because he just recently bought a soccer team and we don't know if he's financially stable.
Ryan freaking Reynolds.
What are you talking about? Right? Like,
what
are you smoking? First and foremost, he's a 50-50.
He's literally worth
movie star.
He's literally worth like hundreds of millions of dollars. You know what I mean?
Don't you think that they could get him? He has accounts. He has people that can provide the necessary financial details if that's what you're worried about. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
And T-Mobile actually was going to buy out freaking Mint Mobile for him for like over $1 billion. So, you know what I mean?
And the thing about that too, when I look at that, it's just like you can have the star power of, hey, we have a movie star that bought this franchise. You know what I mean? And like to a franchise that's not necessarily doing the greatest when it comes to getting people in the door, that's a huge pull. That's a huge draw to be part of Ryan Reynolds' team because you can just look what OJ, I know you're not doing it, but look at Taylor Swift's effect in Kansas City. When all of a sudden she shows up in that game in Chicago, tickets have surged to 20% more increase for people just to see her. You know what I mean? So like think about that as well. That he's going to be up in the owner box, but there might be a chance that you can run into Ryan Reynolds there. like I'm just saying, like I think it's ridiculous.
It's something you can bond with Ryan Reynolds over if you see him ever. You can talk to him about it. You can become best friends.
By the way, he was in the box too at that one game, so just FYI.
Yeah, with the Taylor Swift game. Yep, I know.
I'm just
Trust me, I was more excited about that.
I think it was like it was the Jets game or something.
Jets
I think.
Game. Yeah, in New York. Yeah.
So you're like, oh my God, everybody's freaking out. Oh my God, Taylor Swift is there, and you're like, oh my God,
So, hold on,
Ryan Reynolds is there.
OJ.
Anyway,
OJ, I don't know if you've seen it, since I know we know that you don't really watch NFL, but Travis Kelce's dating Taylor Swift. Have you seen anything about this?
Hold on, what? You can just go ahead.
Hold on. Yeah, OJ, have you seen anything about this?
What? Seen anything about what? Sorry.
That Travis Kelce is dating Taylor Swift.
Oh yeah. I don't even follow the NFL at all.
You don't have to.
And you know about
it's
that.
on
right.
every news channel.
The front page of like The Athletic or something when I pull that up. Like,
yeah.
Trash.
And it's just been all over the place, right? But it was super funny for that Jets game. It was super funny. So they made this huge deal about it, and they're like, "Oh, look, it's Taylor Swift." And she is talking, and in camera is Ryan Reynolds and his wife, Blake Lively, who are big movie stars.
Like literally sitting next to them and talking to them.
Yeah, she's sitting there right next to them talking. They have her name, but they don't mention it. She started laughing. I'm like, really? I'm like, you could have made it a bigger deal by saying, oh, she's also talking to Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. No, they just never even got mentioned. It was hilarious.
I don't understand the fascination with Taylor Swift. Like, no offense to her.
No, it's good, man. It's because of the Swifties, man. She's got a cult following. Dude. It's crazy.
They literally are a cult. I've literally seen a video. They were showing a surveillance video, not to get into it on this topic, but just real quick, of I guess the concert. They put it in the movie theaters or whatever, and they were like, there was a cult of these kids, of teenage kids in the front of the movie theater, inside during the movie, and they're all going in a big ring with all their in circles and holding hands, they were in some sort of chant. It was kind of creepy, I'm not gonna lie.
I'll do you one even better, Adam. So there's a restaurant in Connecticut that set up for Halloween. They set up two scarecrows to get part on with this pop stuff. They set up a one in a Kelsey jersey, and then they set up a one that's blonde to be Taylor Swift. They put it in their window. Over 4,000 fans showed up and waited over 2 hours to see her. And the manager had to come out several times to tell the people it's
oh
a
my
fucking
God.
scarecrow. And so the manager is like, do you really believe that Travis Kelce would be wearing a Travis Kelce Chiefs jersey? Are you kidding me? But that's how crazy her fans are.
I'm looking at the pictures of this, and they're like freaking dolls. It's not even like they were mannequins. They're dolls.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's kind of scary. All right.
What did you?
That's crazy. Nuts.
What did you search for that, Adam?
I'm gonna drop the picture in the chat here so you can see this.
Please. Yeah.
Here.
Yeah. But just look up. Yeah, look at that. They waited.
Do you not see this? How ridiculous is this?
They waited 4,000 fucking. What that long? They stopped because there were so many people in the streets, so they could direct traffic.
I'm gonna take a picture of this.
Most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of.
There were rumors that apparently they were dining inside, but instead they just freaking found scarecrows. Oh
and
my
what I said,
God. The police and fire department showed up in an attempt to disperse the crowds.
Yeah.
Oh my
several
God.
times.
This is insane.
Okay.
Could you imagine the
county
fucking cops
deputy
and the fire department show up and they're like, move away from the scarecrows?
The story is
county deputy said that they almost called for riot gear so they could push the crowd back.
Christ.
It's fucking crazy.
People are nuts.
Yeah.
So
oh
my God. Unreal.
All right. Let's get back to the Blues. And talk a little bit before we start talking about scarecrows and shit. My God. All right. So
yeah, why don't we ever have these crazy stories in the freaking with hockey? Oh, right, because nobody cares. We just play the damn game.
Yeah. All right. So obviously, the season's not going that great for the Blues, comparatively. But what have we liked so far from this season? Is there a specific player or the defense? What specifically have we liked about this team so far? I'm going to start with you on this one.
Well, probably the only saving grace here is Bennington. Honestly, that'd probably be, he's been showing up for sure still, but our defense sure the hell hasn't been still. You know, and obviously even our offense has been lackluster. I mean, we just got fucking smacked by the freaking, by Vancouver as well. That was garbage. We got freaking shut out. But yeah, I'd say Benny. It's been glad. I am happy that Benny has showed up and that he is, he's his old self again for the most part.
Mm-hmm. OJ, what about you?
Well, speaking of that Vancouver game, I mean, that you want to talk about some bad refereeing. I mean,
yeah, touche.
So you got the one team on the back half of a back-to-back and one that's fully rested, and then you give that team 4 penalties in a row, basically, in the first period, all on really fucking soft calls. Like, come on, dude. That needs to be investigated. That's some motivated refereeing right there, if I've ever seen it. But yeah, generally, I'm liking that the Blues are showing more commitment to defense, but now it's just kind of like a skill issue, I guess, because their defense isn't very good. But at least they're taking it seriously. Let's see. I guess Jordan Kyrou is a guy that stood out to me, at least as far as his effort in the defensive zone. He seems to hustle back well and turn pucks over multiple times I've seen him do. So, yeah, there's that.
Yeah. For me, I mean, I had Bennington as well. I mean, I think that he's looked good in certain times. He's definitely hasn't been able to keep that up that he had in the first 3 games of the season. He's 18th in goals against with 2.61, which is not a good look. And you would say, okay, but if he has a high save percentage, then, obviously it's the defense that's slowing him down. But he's also 16th in save percentage at a 916. So not necessarily the greatest. And I'm actually taking a look at some advanced statistics here. And so, like, saves on unblocked shots, he ranks 18th with a 96%. And then expected saves, he's a big minus in this category, because he's supposed to be ranked 11th, just from like the advanced statistics. And obviously these aren't like an official thing because it's just more of like fans that put stuff together, because obviously there's no sabermetrics for the NHL right now. But I mean, he's kind of come down a little bit. The defense just hasn't looked all that great. And again, like, that's kind of all I have. Like, the Blues are ranked 31st in the power play, or excuse me, the Blues ranked 31st out of 32 teams in NHL in goals per game. They're averaging 1.75, which is atrocious. But the biggest thing here, like, our penalty kill is average. It's not great. It's 78.3, but it's 15th in the league. The worst here, though, we rank dead last in NHL in power play percentage, 4%.
Yeah.
4%.
Yeah, that is
really bad.
Really bad.
Josh, where are those advanced? What site was that you're getting those advanced stats?
So,
so
actually, I just Googled. Well, I'll tell you exactly what I did. It was moneypuck.com, but NHL Advanced Analytics is what I Googled, and moneypuck.com is where I was at.
Yeah, no, MoneyPuck's a good site. Yeah.
I don't think I've used them before.
I don't think you'd consider that like fans just throwing shit together. Like, it's a legit site.
What I mean, yeah, that's true. But I'm go ahead.
No, all I'm saying is, like, that's a good source. Like, you don't have to like be like, oh, I don't know about these numbers or anything. That's a legit source. Like, that's.
I'm just saying that they're the reason why I say that, though, is because they're advanced statistics are not in NHL, are really not like a quote unquote official thing like sabermetrics are for baseball. That's all I was getting at. But you're right. I mean, like, I don't know enough about Money Puck when it comes to, like, like Spotrac, they pay people obviously to do their analytics and stuff like that. So I'm wondering if Money Puck does the same. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Money Puck is actually pretty comparable to like a Fangraphs type of site. So, I mean, there's differences in the way certain things are calculated sometimes, but it's kind of like this is like how Fangraphs does WAR versus Baseball Reference, that kind of stuff.
That makes sense.
So,
okay.
But yeah, it's very very like above board and legit. Like their stats are respected. Like, I mean, some people might quibble with you on whether you prefer like Corsi or Fenwick or something like that, but other than that, like, yeah, you're fine with using them for everything.
Well, shout out to moneypuck.com then. So go there for your advanced statistics.
Their model or whatever, it predicted the Blues to be one of the top couple teams in the league the year they won the Cup, which is pretty impressive. I shouldn't say they didn't predict it before the season, because the way their model works, it's, actual stuff you do. So, but towards the middle of the season, it was onto the Blues before, the national media and stuff was, at least. So,
it's definitely saying something, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Let's get in here, though. I mean, has anything changed with this Blues team compared to your preseason expectations? OJ, I'll kind of start with you. I mean, do you believe that our defense is better than what you thought it would be? Our offense is better than or worse? Like, what's your thought process comparatively, like coming into the season after 8 games? What has changed in your perception of the Blues?
So I actually thought that they would be better than they are. Like I said, it's just become obvious that they have a legitimate lack of ability now out there, which I didn't think was obvious last season necessarily. Some of it could just be that, they are learning a new defensive system and all that. It may just be that they aren't gelling yet. Like, they're playing slow as a team, which is obviously going to kill you all the time. So they need to figure out a way to pick up the pace. It's not like they have a bunch of plotters on their roster. They got guys with wheels, but they still play slow. So there's something that needs to happen, something that needs to click. And maybe it will at some point, and they'll turn a corner and look better. But right now, they just don't have the ability to hang with teams that are any good, I don't think. I mean, at least not for the entirety of games. Like, I watched us against Colorado, and they pretty much outplayed Colorado in the second period. Like, the Blues actually looked like the better team over the entire course of the second period. So, like, they clearly have it in them somewhere. But, yeah, it's just too often it looks like
doing that consistency for 60 minutes, right?
Yeah. So I think they need to maybe find some confidence, or maybe they just need more time working on things. And the power play thing also is, like you guys are saying, that's killing them right now, because why should anyone be afraid of taking a penalty against you? Like, you suck. You're not going to do anything.
It allows you to be an incredibly aggressive on the defensive side of things, knowing that even if you do get a penalty, there's no threat.
Exactly. So, I mean, I have no clue why that's bad. I really do think it's probably like stuff isn't gelling quite right now. So they just need more time on the ice together. Hopefully they stick with it and don't just shit away the season too early.
Yeah, for sure. Adam, what's your takes here? What has changed from your preseason perception of the Blues?
I didn't have high expectations anyway going into this. Obviously, there just wasn't a lot of moves and things going on in the in the off season that made me feel like this was going to be a different team for sure. And while I think we can definitely, can defend a little bit better than we could last season, but it feels like right now the offense is just, freaking bone dry. It just is. So, and I'm just really disappointed in, like, your point about, on the power plays, it's really disappointing to see that. So, and I'm sure while we may be able to fix one area, it feels like the same kind of crap like before. It's like, okay, we can get, a little stronger defensively, but then we're going to lack offensively. Offense are going to start picking up, defense is going to start dropping the ball versus, everything's going to, this is how it is, and I just don't think that we can get it together, and I just, so I'm not really surprised, really. I didn't really have huge, expectations this season. Sorry to say, but I just didn't.
No, I mean, I'm kind of with you. Listen, I have to say that, like OJ, I had hopes, but I kind of felt like this team, they're worse than I thought they were going to be. I didn't think that they were going to be good. This is just a bad team. like I hate to, I'm trying to like sugarcoat and like dance around it, but if I'm gonna be honest, this is just a bad team. They don't play a very good team game. OJ, as you said, they have lead feet a lot. They can't move the puck when they need to move the puck. They can't bunker down when they need to bunker down. They can't close out when they need to close out. This is just looking like a debunked team. And to me, this is even worse than back in like 2008, 2009, when we started drafting a bunch of young players and you knew you're going to go watch AHL hockey essentially. But at the same time, you had the promise of youth. You have David Backes was coming up. You have David Perron, at the time, Patrick Berglund, TJ Oshie, Petrangelo. You had these players that were coming up that you knew was going to be your core and you just need to try to build around and develop. Here's the problem. There's a lot of veterans on this team and they're just not good. So I don't know. So I don't want to tear down again because we're just literally 4 years removed from winning the Stanley Cup. But at the same time,
but we're not the same team.
Yeah, exactly. We might need that because this team is just not good. It's just not.
No.
All righty, guys. Well, let's transition here and talk a little bit about some Mizzou football. It's been an interesting season so far for Mizzou. They are 7-1. They had a bye week last week. Before that, they beat South Carolina 34-12. They are actually ranked 14th in the AP, but the most important one is actually the CFP, which is the College Football Playoff Rankings. They have them at 12, which would be in 2 years a playoff spot. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
it's
in a playoff spot if it was next season. So
yeah. Oh, I said 2 years. Yeah, my bad. Next season. Yeah. Yeah. So that is a lot of like hope. And obviously a lot of it's going to be pingent definitely on these next two games, right? Obviously our next game is at Georgia, which
huge, yeah.
Georgia fell from number 1. They're now to number 2 in the country. And then the next game we're at home against Tennessee, which is ranked 17. And then after that, we actually have Florida at home, which is a sneakily good team, even though they're not ranked. And then we're at Arkansas, which is, a game we should probably be able to win. But, what's the expectations? And OJ, I'll go here with you. What's expectations for this team now? I mean, obviously you got the nation's attention, at least to a certain degree, being 14th and 12th in obviously the playoff rankings. What do you believe, can happen here with the Georgia game, maybe Tennessee, and where they could end up at the end of the season?
Well, this next game here on Saturday is going to tell us a whole lot because Mizzou's played probably a tougher schedule than Georgia so far. I don't think Georgia's played anybody yet, really. But anyway, the point is Mizzou, they look legit, more legit than I've seen them since like the Gary Pinkel years. So that's pretty nice. They have their weaknesses, though, and that's where you want to see how much they can improve from week to week and all that because, they're also a team that's made up of, I don't know if I would say a huge amount of transfers, but that's how they get a lot of the strength of their players is through the transfer portal these days. So, it takes some time for things to gel, and get all that stuff figured out. So some of the question is like Mizzou's some of the concerns, for them have been like, in my opinion, their defensive tackle play has been pretty weak, which is causing issues with stopping the run. LSU was able to run the ball between the tackles pretty much at will the entire game. So like that was pretty tough to watch. But that play started to pick up here the last couple of weeks, but that's also been against South Carolina and Kentucky. So, it's not like they're not as good as like LSU or Georgia at running the ball either. So it's kind of like, is that real? Are they starting to actually improve and made some adjustments there? Or have they just played some weird competition? Or what's going on? So we're kind of going to find out how complete a team of Mizzou is. And if they like lose close to Georgia, then you probably expect there's no reason to think they couldn't win out the rest of the way at that point. And they probably wouldn't drop too far in the rankings then either. And it would probably boost Georgia up to 1 because now they'd have like a legitimate team that they beat for change. But yeah, so
Yeah, because when I'm looking at it here, they went up against UT Martin, Ball State. Excuse me. So UT Martin and Ball State at the beginning of the season, then South Carolina, UAB, Auburn, and then their only ranked opponent that they beat was Kentucky, which was ranked 20th at the time. You know what I mean?
yeah,
With 2 losses, if I remember
they
correctly.
put
Then
it,
Vanderbilt, they did beat Florida, 43-20, but anyways,
Yeah.
go on.
Florida people thought would be like the second worst. Actually, I saw people thinking Florida was going to be worse than Vanderbilt going into the season. And
Wow. All right.
stuff
Well,
that says that they haven't been getting by on smoke and mirrors yet either. They could easily end up
right.
like 5-6 or something like that. So they may not
Sure.
be that good. We don't know yet. But yeah. So anyway, the point is, you could wind up with like a 10-2 season and wind up ranked near the top. I don't know if that would get you a New Year's Six bowl or not, but it would put you in position to like tell recruits like, hey, if we just do what we did last year, we're going to be in the playoffs. So come join our school. So that would be.
Yeah, and we're only going to get better,
Yeah. So like really, that would be somewhat of a moral victory, honestly, like a legitimate moral victory where you could say like this is a good sign for the progress of the program if they can just keep it close.
But and you're 100% right. Yeah, because I kind of have, that's why I look at it. I look at Georgia game as you go out there and you try to compete. If you can somehow beat Georgia, obviously you're going to jump up in the rankings. You're going to gain a lot more respect, but also you are now in the lead in the East. You know what I mean? For the SEC, you're in the lead for the SEC East. So you need to keep that kind of momentum going. But I believe that they're going to lose to Georgia. It's just, Georgia is such a powerhouse. Obviously, back-to-back champions. They're going for the 3rd in a row. I feel that they'll lose to Georgia. I do believe it's going to be a deceptively close game. I think that Georgia ends up winning by like 14, but I think it's like one of those last touchdowns on like on a pass that needed to happen, or like pick 6 kind of thing. But I do believe that hopefully we can beat Tennessee, beat Florida, and beat Arkansas and finish in the season in the top 25. Because to your point, OJ, that goes a long way for recruiting and also goes a long way for next year and just earning respect. You know what I mean? If we were beating teams left and right and we barely got into the top 25, and when we did, we faced LSU, which is a good team, and then they beat us, and then we dropped out of the top 25, and we had to work our way back up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And there's some upsets. Like I think we moved up. We moved up from like 18th or something to 12th, I think. No, I think it was even because we played. That's right, because we played South Carolina. We were ranked like 20. So we go from being 20th when we played South Carolina. Now we're up to 12th.
14th.
And we had 12th in the CFP.
Which is CFP though. This is their first week that they have listed that, so it would have been the AP ranking, yeah.
Okay, but anyway, I think we moved up like a couple spots during the bye week because of some upsets. Sure. So that was nice. Got a little help there.
And honestly, like I'm very happy that they decided to schedule this bye week before the Georgia game because it's such a big game. So it gives us 2 weeks to prepare for Georgia. And while Georgia obviously just last game, they looked good, but they were up against Florida at Florida. So and Florida's a good team. Well, somewhat of a good team. But like it allows.
I was just saying they might. We don't know for sure yet. That's all.
Yeah. But regardless, it's a team that can be at least competitive, right?
Yeah. Should be. And they put a drubbing on them. Right. But yeah, so this is in Athens, so it's gonna be
it's in Georgia,
and they ranked Georgia number 2, so now they don't
the chip now.
Yeah, now they can have a chip on their shoulder. Dominic Lovett is gonna want to show up good against his old team, especially while Brock Bowers is out. Oh, and he did get an uptick in receptions with Brock Bowers out. So he's going to probably be a guy they're going to look to get the ball to. So, you got that there. He left you for them.
Sure.
So it's going to be lots of storylines, lots of motivating factors here. So I just hope it's a really, really sick game because, I'm looking forward to it.
For sure. Well, let's get to our last topic here before we do our sign off and talk a little bit about MLB and the World Series. So World Series ended last night. The Texas Rangers beat the Arizona Diamondbacks. Kind of in a way, a Cinderella story for both. But let's be honest, the Texas Rangers weren't that big of an underdog coming into it. They just had to, get a little bit of a stretch. It is their first win. They went obviously 2 World Series in a row, losing one to us, and then
they barely lost that one too. So thank you, David Freese.
Yeah. Let's talk about are they surprised? Adam, let's start with you here. Are you surprised that the Rangers won the World Series?
Well, at the end of the season, no. I mean, because have you seen how they've been performing on the road? They won every single, away game during the entire, and during the whole playoffs.
11-0.
I could not believe that. That was just astonishing. Of course, looking at the full picture when we were looking at the playoffs, back at the beginning of October, would I have picked the Rangers to win it all? Absolutely not. I was thinking it's probably going to be the freaking Astros, more than likely going to be the ones that are going to come out here again. So am I happy for the Rangers? I am. I'm really happy for Monty as well. Sad to see him go from the Cards, but I am happy that he ended up, getting a ring out of the deal. But I was surprised for sure from the very get-go. But by the time that they wound up though in the series, I thought they had a real chance because they were really on fire, and their pitching was really what sealed the deal. And that's when you're looking at playoff baseball, you look at pitching. And the fact is they were doing outstanding there. And also, I don't know if you watched last night's game too, but the other thing is that we see a lot of times, especially in World Series, and we know very well, whenever you're performing, you're defensively very poorly and making a lot of mistakes. And Arizona was making those mistakes. So Rangers by far won that series, and rightfully so.
Yeah, sorry about the dog's hair for a second, but no, you're right. I mean, I'm really not all that surprised. I mean, they finished the regular season tied with the Astros. They actually lost it in the last game of the season. They had that division kind of wrapped up. I mean, they won 90 games, right? So
yeah, they were 90-72. Same with the Astros. So you're absolutely right.
They were also buyers at the deadline, so you didn't really feel like this was really that big of a surprise. Maybe comparatively to like Houston or like LA or some of the other bigger like taglines when it comes to teams that are spending money and all this other stuff, maybe over Phillies and stuff. But to me, like everyone kept saying this was like the dark horse versus the dark horse. I'm like, no, only really the Arizona Diamondbacks were the dark horse. But I also didn't believe what people said that it was the most improbable team to have ever been in the World Series, because I'm like, no, I believe that like the 2006 Cardinals.
We were 83 wins in the regular season. And we had barely squeaked into that thing. I mean, I literally was at that last game at the regular season, and I said, well, this is it. It's over. Yeah, sure, we're going to sneak in for a wild card option, but we're not going to go anywhere. I was like, there's no way. And I was like, well, that'll be the last time I Busch Stadium. And then the next game I go to was Game 5 of the World Series and see him win it. So there you go.
You needed a hell of a come from behind in 2011 too.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's for sure. That is for sure.
I don't think as dramatic as 06, but you're right. We had to have everything go our right way, and then obviously just how it happened in the playoffs period.
We were down to a strike. They were down to a strike away from winning that thing, man. The Rangers were so damn close to winning that series.
You know what has to go right for you? Because you know that the only reason the Cardinals got in is because the Braves lost on the last day of the season. And
That's right.
The Braves on the last day of the season? The Philadelphia Phillies, who actually put out a legitimate lineup, even though they had long clinched their spot, and they did it because of the integrity of the game. They beat the Braves, and then the Cardinals come in and beat the Phillies in the first round. Come on, that's baseball.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's pretty interesting how that works out sometimes, and obviously with baseball, it goes in streaks too, and who's hot, who's not at the time. So you could have these teams like obviously the Braves, phenomenal season. You had Baltimore, another great season for them as well. But as you could see, they choked in the series eventually.
Yeah. It is kind of weird how at least a couple of our most memorable championships recently have ties to Philly that way.
Yeah.
So, just saying.
That is true.
Yeah. OJ, were you surprised about the Rangers winning it this year?
I mean, I wouldn't say I was shocked. Let's see. I guess I was more shocked that the Astros got out, right? But if you said, look at the field, do you think the Rangers have a legit shot? I'd have been like, yeah, because every aspect of their team has been good this year. They're just a good fucking team. So yeah, I'm not stunned. My God, I can't believe they won it. But yeah, they wouldn't have been in my top few choices probably at the beginning of the playoffs to win it either. So. I have to say I'm pleasantly surprised.
Well, they don't have the best track record when it comes to the playoffs, as we well know. I mean, this is the first time they've literally won a World Series. So, if I was a betting man, we certainly aren't be like, yeah, the Rangers are definitely going to win it all this year. I highly doubt it,
Yeah, so. You do get the feeling once they were in the World Series, I kind of felt like they were due, I mean, I couldn't imagine them losing the World Series again. It would be terrible.
That would be hugely disappointing. But I guess they were, Dallas was used to it.
Yeah, I had too much faith in, that there wouldn't be that level of cruelty in this world.
Right.
Well, guys, that's all the topics we have here. So, when we head to our sign off here, Adam, why don't you tell the good listeners what our socials are and how they can reach out to us?
Our lovely listeners can always reach out to us on Facebook at facebook.com/thehometownlosers, and that's spelled LOUSERS. Give us a like, comment, share, tell your friends, tell your family. Just don't tell anybody that is a Chicago fan, because we will ban them. Also, check us out on x.com/hometownlosers. Retweet, like, post. Yeah, check us out.
Alrighty. OJ, what do you have for the game of the week?
I got to do two again because, chronologically, first you have Mizzou versus Georgia at 2:30 p.m. Central Time in Georgia. That's a big one if you're a Mizzou fan. Pretty much biggest game this program has had in probably a decade, a little less. But so that's first, and then of course you have at 4 p.m. also that same on Sunday. You have St. Louis versus Sporting Kansas City in Kansas City, and that's also the biggest game that this franchise has ever played. So pretty hard to pick one this week.
Yeah, that's true. Well, at least you have one a day, so
yeah, exactly. One Saturday, one Sunday, no overlap.
Gonna all line up because I'm gonna have the Mizzou game on Saturday afternoon. Sunday morning, I got the Chiefs game at 8:30 in the morning, and then I've got St. Louis City SC Sunday afternoon. So there you go.
You gotta leave your couch.
There you go. I was going to say, if anybody out there wants to, they can always head down to City Park. We're going to have a big watch party on Sunday, so
we'll be there. All three of us will be there.
We'll be there. We'll be watching. We'll be cheering. We'll be having a good time. And let's go City. Let's go Mizzou.
Let's go City. Let's go Mizzou, and I guess let's go Blues-ish.
Let's go Blues. Let's go Let's go Chiefs. I mean, if at least for Josh Chiefs. And myself, for sure. So that'll be that. I mean, not to throw in like my own little game of the week, but obviously that is a matchup truly on the NFL side that I'm excited to see is the Chiefs and the Dolphins. So anyway, yeah.
And determine who gets home playoff advantage in the AFC. So it's going to be interesting for sure.
Yes, for sure. So that is another big game of the week on, like I said, I'll claim that one.
The honorary by Adam there.
The honorary. Yeah. There we go. Cool. I'm good with that. All right,
everybody. Thank you.
That's it.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, listeners. I guess I'm going to say that instead of everybody since Adam chimed in. I'm just kidding. But I appreciate all the listeners. Please give us your feedback on our socials and let us know any more content that you would like to hear, whether it's around a specific sport. If you want to play a game with us or like predictions and stuff like that, not to sound like Jigsaw, even though Halloween's over, we won't play a game. Anyways, we appreciate everybody. We will catch you next week on the Hometown Losers for our 1-year anniversary. You guys have a great night. See ya.
Hey guys, this is Adam. Just want to say thanks for listening to the Hometown Losers podcast. We'll see you next week as we continue our discussion of St. Louis sports.